I bought this. I bought this because we went to a last year's service. So like, it's not too.
That's the maker is a moron!
Well, no, it might be on the bottom.
Oh, okay. But I'm getting instructions how to use the phone as the clicker. So. But I told you, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Welcome. Tonight's going to be really, really special. It's 2015 already.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, so it's 2015 and it's our first AAA'z Night meeting of 2015. So, like I said, it's going to be special. I know, but it's all good. We know that we're in 2015. So, listen, the reason I say tonight is going to be special. One is because it's the first AAA'z Night of the year, and the second thing is because tonight you're actually going to learn some things that we should have learned a long time ago that are going to impact. You're going to get tools and education that, the same thing that I learned, over 10 years ago when I saw the business opportunity that truly impact my life and my family. That if my parents would have learned, 50 years ago, financially, everything else would have been a lot different. So I was a graphic designer for about 11 or so years. So I never really truly understood anything that had to do with business and financial education and tools like that. This is something that we never learned, But more than anything else, because I knew the financial tools were important, for families, but the opportunity to put a business with that, I mean, it truly impact my life totally. And again, by the end of the night, you're gonna feel the same way that I felt, over 10 years ago. So tonight, you're going to hear from some amazing people. I'm Adrian Zamora. That's my vice president.
First amazing one.
We actually have an office in San Fernando, down in the valley. You're gonna hear from the awesome Sue Tudela. She's a vice president as well. And you're gonna hear from the awesome Wade Kalski. He's an attorney, a distributor with the company, and our unbelievable senior vice president, Brett Sears. He's gonna come and wrap things up. So again, tonight you're here for something good. So help me welcome the awesome Sue Tudela.
It's so funny. Adrian asked me how to use this before, and I said, I think it's the bottom. And then I asked him, okay, so which one is it? Hi, everyone. My name is Sue Tudela. Obviously, I do this there. Okay. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go over some things tonight. First of all, I've been in this business for about 16 years, and I've seen some amazing changes along the way. And I think you guys you're in for such a treat. What we're doing this year, where we've come from, where we're going to, is just so amazing. And so what I wanted to do is I want to take it back just a little ways. I wanted to go over some things that I hope all of us already knew. And I think we all do. But sometimes they're just not to the front of our minds, okay? So is it okay if I just bring some stuff from the back here all the way up to the front? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool. So I wanted to go over some things that I think we already know. The first one thing is, I think we're pretty much sure that there's a whole group of people out there called the wealthy, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and wouldn't we all like to be one? Yeah. If I'm being honest, if they had a choice, wouldn't we all?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the wealthy have some things pretty much institutionalized. They have education. Their kids are going to college. It's not a matter of if they're going. You probably know people like this. It's like, are you going to my alma mater? Anybody recognize that? Anything? Not maybe personally, but from somebody else. How about this? Opportunity and ownership. How many wealthy people work for somebody else? No, they work for themselves, right? So that's something that we know is there. How about this? Financial freedom. The wealthy people that I know get to come and go as they want, anytime they want to. How many people here like to go on vacations?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, how many people like to travel? How cool would it be to be able to pick up, get on a plane, go to dinner in New York, go to a play in England come back and be home in the next day or two, just because we chose to do it. Would that be kind of cool? I actually know somebody who does that, by the way, and it's like, really? This is kind of cool. How about this one, financial guidance? Would you guys agree that the wealthy have whatever financial guidance that they need? All the advisors love to talk to the wealthy. Why? Yeah, it's where all the money is. If I have a choice who I'm going to spend time with, and my whole goal is to make money, where am I going to spend my time? Sitting down with somebody who has $2 million or someone who has 50,000? Probably 2 million, right? So the wealthy have all of these things in place, and it's pretty much institutionalized. Then we know, correct me if I'm wrong, that we have another group of people down here called the not so wealthy or the financially dependent, right?
Right, yes.
And this is really good because we don't want a whole segment of our population going fat. That doesn't make sense. We don't want more people pushing the carts on the side of the road with all their clothes and everything in it, right?
Right.
Okay, so the not so wealthy, the government's put programs in place for it. Free preschools. How about college grants? You know, the kids of the financially dependent, as long as they qualify to go to college, they can get grants so they can actually go. How about financial support and just opportunities? All of these things, really good thing again. But you know what? Unless I'm wrong, and I don't think I am when I look at this, there's a really, really big group of people right in the middle, yeah?
Yes.
That I don't know about you, but I know I'm a part of it. And that really big group of people, we like to call Main Street families. It's one of those reasons. You know what? And when I say it, I usually don't say Main Street families because to me it's just the rest of American families. If we're not here and we're not here, we're right here, right? So what are some things about us? What are some things that we know about ourselves? Well, if we have kids, do we want them to go to preschool?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I never had kids, so it's not something I can kind of relate to that well, but I have nieces and nephews that have kids. And you know what I found out? It's expensive. Anybody here have kids?
Yeah.
Young children? $600 to $1,000 for preschool? It's crazy out there. But we do it because it's really important, right?
Right.
Right. How about college? How many people here have kids going to college? Okay, how many, is it expensive?
Oh.
Super expensive. How many people went to college themselves? Some of you guys did that too. Was that expensive?
Right. Yes.
It was for me too. I was really, really lucky because my dad had a business and he had saved enough money so it was covered. But that's not most of my friends. And what's happening now? How much does it cost to go to college? Most people are walking out with student loans.
Yeah.
And then we start from backwards, right? And we're trying to catch up. Really true. How about this? How many people would like to have a business?
Yeah.
I would love to have a business. I grew up watching my dad build a business. And so I knew that it was the only way to get to where I wanted to go. I kept hearing, you don't want to work for somebody else. It's never going to get you to where you want to go. And so by the time I graduated from college and stuff, I worked for somebody else. Just one of those things, right? I was a dental hygienist. And you know what I ended up doing? I helped build somebody else's dreams. So I wanted to have a business. And I think a lot of us are thinking that same thing. But how expensive is it? It's hard to afford. Building a business. It's not necessarily the money that it costs to start it up. That's $70,000 or $100,000 or whatever, because sometimes we can get loans, right?
Yes.
But how much is it going to cost to stay in business long enough to make it successful? And if we can't stay in business long enough to make it successful, who owns the businesses? Us? Or that group? Maybe a problem. How about this one? Financial advice. I really wanted financial advice. I got to tell you, I was over 40 by the time I had any financial advice at all. And I had some of the worst stuff in the world because you didn't know who to trust. Anybody with me on this one?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of identify with the same thing? But the financial advisors, if they're all giving all their time up here to that top group and not to this group, kind of left out in the cold, which means that we end up with no access. Now that paints a pretty bleak picture.
Yes.
And at the same time, we go, wait a second here, what do we do? Well, I don't know about all you guys, but what I did is I turned to what I already knew. I turned to the banks and the lenders and the insurance companies, and I turned to corporate America. Anybody else with me on this one?
Yes.
There was a huge challenge, though. The banks, were they there to get me wealthy?
No.
Are they there to get you wealthy?
No.
Probably not. How about the lenders? Oh, I guess we don't even need to talk about them. We know what happened back a few years ago. And if we look at credit cards now, almost 30%, oh, forget it, right? How about insurance companies? Are they there for us?
Yeah.
I thought they were, but I had some of the worst stuff in the whole world and had no idea because no one was sitting down with me. Corporate America, making sure that we own businesses? Nope, probably not. So we turn to what we know. The problem is, they're not really there for us. And nobody was knocking on my door and telling me any different. Anybody knocked on your door? No. The biggest problem, though, is we're not even upset about it. We don't even really get in our head, at least I didn't, that there really is a problem. You know why? Because it wasn't personal. See, until you're the one, or I'm the one who gets laid off, or the one that all of a sudden somebody passes away and all that products aren't there for us, it isn't personal. But when that happens, be the one to get laid off. How personal is that? And don't we all go, okay, we've got to do something different now?
Yeah.
But if we never change anything before that, what changes? And you know what happens? Is we go around in circles over and over and over again. Well, what happens is that a few of us in this room said, you know what, this isn't right. I think it could be different. It has to be different. And you know what, it really would kind of, put it bluntly, suck if we kind of ended everything right here. But we did get together, we did come up with a plan. We do believe that it can be different. We do believe that we can have access just like everybody else. And so what I want to do right now is I would like to introduce my friend Wade, and he's going to come on up. Whoops, sorry about that. And he's going to show us exactly what we can do and how we can do it. So help me welcome Wade.
So Brett was busting my chops because I saw him earlier today and I was in a tie and slacks because for what I do during the day, and then I had a chance to switch into something else. And he's like, "What did you do? You changed into like more casual." So I was like, so, don't judge me. Don't judge me. Who's judging me? Who's judging me? All right. My name is Wade Stolsky. I'm so happy to meet you guys. Our charge is going on this, but we should be able to make it through the end. So Sue just gave a great talk about how the wealthy have access to financial security, financial education, all those good things. And really what I want to talk to you is a little bit about thinking today, right now. Isn't that exciting? You're like, God, I really wanted to go tonight and think about thinking and talk about thinking, right? So you worked hard today, you did something, you know, we were all on the grind today, we fought the traffic to get up here, and we decided, all right, we're gonna talk about thinking. But I actually am excited to talk to you about it, and the reason is because the thinking of the wealthy is what drives their actions, and their actions drive their results. And that's all it is. A lot of people think that the wealthy is because they inherited it. Well, 70% of millionaires in America are first generation. So that means that 7 out of 10 people who became a millionaire were born broke. All right? It's not something where it's not accessible. We live in the greatest country in the world. We live in the most opportunity everywhere. And the only thing that separates us from the wealthy is just their thinking and their actions. So that's exciting to me to think about because I can learn what to do. Now, the wealthy lock in advances for a family. What that basically means is that what they do for their kids is they make sure that their kids don't go backwards. Okay? So my parents, I'm the first in my family to go to college. I'm the first in my family to go to law school. Okay? But my parents basically made sure that I could do that because my dad worked really hard. But if something would happen to him, right? If he would have got struck by lightning, bored by javelina, got hit by a bus, whatever, he didn't lock in those advances for me. So what would have happened is that I would have just had to go and do the exact same thing that he did because he wasn't there to support me. Does that make sense? Yeah. So he didn't. Luckily, we didn't have to do this. But the wealthy make sure that this is 100% no matter what. They say, look, generation after generation has worked hard to get our family here. We're going to make sure that no matter what, our kids are going to be able to do what we did. So if they went to Harvard Westlake for private school, they went to Harvard, our kids are going to at least have the money to do that if something happens to me. So that's one way that the wealthy think about their money. They develop habits. Basically is that, results are just the result of doing the same thing over and over and over again. I like to think about, for me, it's in terms of if we gain or lose weight. Well, if we get in the habit of eating carrots for breakfast instead of muffins for breakfast, well, we don't get as much weight, right? That's just a habit. The same thing happens with your money. They just develop the right habits. Part of the challenge here, though, is for us, because we don't have the access to the information, we don't have access to some of the opportunities, is to know what habits to develop. Nobody's telling us that. Sue made a great point. She talked about, well, why are we not mad about that? Why is it that the banks aren't helping us? They're not teaching us the habits. The lenders are actually teaching us bad habits. Why? Because they want to keep lending to us because they're making money off of lending to us, right? So the wealthy just know what are the right habits to do. They know to eat carrots instead of muffins for their financial future, okay? So they do that as well. And then what they also do is they leverage experts. Look, you can't know everything. It's impossible. If anyone here thinks you can know everything, I hate to break it to you, you can't, all right? But what you can do is you can get really good at what you're good at, all right? So for me, in terms of for my legal business, I'm really good at a very tiny part of my legal business that makes me good at what I do. But I don't want to learn anything about sort of my financial stuff, or if I don't want to learn anything about life insurance or any of those things, I want to go to somebody who knows about that because I'm busy. Aren't you guys busy?
Yes.
Right? You all, if you have kids, you're super busy. I don't have kids yet. I'm not super busy like you guys are super busy. But you don't have time to go get the books and read the books and make a decision and interview 10 different people, right? So the wealthy don't either, and they leverage experts, all right? But again, they have access to experts that we don't have access to. Doesn't that kind of stink, right? If the only thing is having the information and know what to do, and having the right relationships that helps you get wealthy, why is nobody not mad about that? But they don't have to worry about it because their dad goes to a guy, and so when his son is old enough to do whatever, or daughter is old enough to do whatever is needed to do, I bought a car from John, son, let me take it to John. John will get you a car, right? That's how that stuff happens. That's how that happens for us. We go to the Honda dealership, we all get good Hondas, right? But they knew a guy who knows a guy for good Mercedes, okay? And this is just how the wealthy operate. And they cultivate strategic partnerships. What this means basically is again, they know they don't know everything, and they cultivate relationships with other people and other influencers so that when there's a problem, they just get on the phone and they call their circle of influence, right? What do? We freak out. We say, well, I'm just gonna work harder. I'm gonna get another job, or I'm going to not talk to anyone. I'm not going to ask anyone for help because that would be weird if I actually admitted that I needed help. Who here has seen My Cousin Vinny? Great movie, right? What does this have to do with the wealthy and thinking, right? At the end of that movie, they're driving away. And if you remember, she says that she called the judge friend of his that sent the facts to the judge in Alabama so he didn't get in trouble. Does everybody remember that? Yes. And Joe Pesci gets all mad, right? And she's like, why are you mad? And he says, I'm mad because I wanted to do this myself. It is classic middle-class thinking, classic thinking that's taught to us. And what does she say to him? She says, oh my God, you just get to go around. What if you just get help from people and you go around winning case after case after case? And what do you have to do? You have to say, thank you, right? But to us, none of us want to say thank you to anyone. We all want to go do it ourselves. That's not how the wealthy think. The wealthy, you know what? They don't have a problem saying the words thank you. You know why? Because they know that thank you and asking for help and leveraging strategic partnerships is how they not only get wealthy, stay wealthy, keep their kids wealthy, and their kids' wealthy. Right. So I get a little excited talking about this stuff because this is the key to changing your life, or for me, for changing my life if I want to. And so the other thing is that really quick before we go to the next slide and finish up, is that you all need to realize that you're already doing this, okay? You're just doing it in your own arena of however you're doing it. I'll give you an example. My favorite one is develop habits. Okay, I'll give you an example of, for me. I developed a habit of really liking fantasy football, okay? That's a habit, right? When I play fantasy football, I have my fantasy team, and I look when we're playing, I would check the players, and I would do that all during the week, right? Is there anything wrong with fantasy football? Absolutely not. It's really fun. But it's a habit, and it takes time, okay? Then I thought to myself, well, how many of these habits do I have that are fantasy football habits? If you have 20 different fantasy, I don't want to use anyone else as an example, I'll use myself as an example. I discovered I have a lot of fantasy football habits, okay? And so if I have one of them, great. If I have 25 of them, I'm eating a lot of muffins with my future, okay? So, and the only other thing I want everyone to think about is leveraging experts, all right? We all leverage experts. When I play fantasy football, I'm leveraging the experts of CBS Sports online. They're experts at packaging fantasy football in a way that makes me want to stay on there the whole time. Give them $39 a month. They're experts at getting my money, right? Bungie Entertainment, Destiny, Xbox One, they're experts at having me sit and play that thing, right? So the wealthy know what experts to talk to. And that's the thing is we all do it, okay? So if we're gonna leverage a strategic partner, right, let's talk about someone that we can have access to that's just as good or better than anyone else has for the wealthy. Primerica is an example of a company that you can leverage as a strategic partner in many different ways. We've got $2 billion, all right? That's a hammer, okay? It's not like you're calling your crazy uncle and say, hey, listen, I need $6,000 for something, or I need you to give me advice on something. This is a $2 billion company where all they do is sit around and think about what they're gonna do for their clients and then for the people that work with the company. That's a giant strategic partnership. It's a big time hammer. They have a track record of dealing with Main Street families. They do everything for that middle group that we talked about, okay? And that's just what I said basically, is that they create the tools for Main Street families. They're a great strategic partner. So really quick, because Brett's gonna kill me because I'm getting all carried away about thinking. So really quick, just to give you an example of, well, what did the wealthy do that think differently than we do about locking in advances? Well, what they do is they use level term insurance. That's just a fancy way of saying that they borrow a big bag of money. So if dad says, okay, I went to Harvard, but I don't have, now it's probably $200,000 saved in an account for my son to go to Harvard, but I want him to go because I went. What he does is, if he doesn't have the 200 grand in the bank, he just borrows a big bag of money with level term insurance so that if he gets hit by a bus, struck by lightning, or by Avelina, then his son is taken care of. That's all that is. Develop habits. Mutual funds, just putting money every month away for the future, for retirement, okay? It's just they have access to this, they know what this is, and it doesn't scare them. That's the thing, is that we're taught to be afraid of things with money because we work really hard. Who works really hard today? Come on, everybody did in some way. I don't care what you did today, you all work really hard, okay? We work really hard for our money or whatever we're doing for our kids or our time or whatever, so we get kind of scared of putting that out of our control. Well, the rich aren't scared of that because they understand that this is a tool that they can use. They leverage experts, manage accounts. Manage accounts is another example of, if you have $10 million, those guys are gonna have people help them with that money every single day, checking it out and checking out what's happening with the market. I describe it as, I have the smartest nerds in the world in my basement, and they watch my money every single day, all right? That's all managed accounts is. I don't have to be the smartest nerd in the world. I have access to them. I may be a nerd, but I'm not the smartest nerd. See, conversation before about fantasy football. Okay. And then finally, they cultivate strategic partnerships. And just really quick, and I know I'm going a little long, and I apologize, Brett, but I get all excitable about this. Is that, so you're going to have to deal with it, I'm sorry. Is that Primerica is a great strategic partner. I just showed you it has $2 billion in cash, right? That's awesome. But Primerica is a monolithic corporation that helps us, that's in Duluth, Georgia, and that really, that Stacy in the hub talks to them. I never talk to them. What I get excited about is we also leverage our advocates. And we have a we pick our advocates, we pick them, we're very selective about it. And what we do is, here's our selection process. We tell them our story, and then they say, hey, that's great, I'd like to be an advocate. And Brett's gonna talk more about that in a little bit. But these people, the people that are like-minded like me, like Brett, like Sue, people who are say, hey, yeah, this kind of stinks, that there's an issue, and maybe there should be something that's done about it, even if it's just telling that to somebody else, that there is different ways to think. Those are the people that I like talking to. And that can be anybody, that can be anybody. It can maybe even be somebody in this room. I don't know. But Brett's gonna talk to us about that. So I really, really appreciate you letting me talk to you about this plan, which is a 2 to 3 generation plan. We can teach you this plan, you can learn this plan yourself, and this will get your kids wealthy. And that's a really cool thing, because I will tell you this, if I wouldn't have been exposed to these lessons,
my father's kids, which would be my kids, wouldn't be wealthy. This is all that the difference is. The only difference is the thinking. Kind of ended that in a downer. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to me. I want to introduce awesome Brits here.
Oh, you guys excited?
Yeah.
Thank you guys all for coming. All the speakers, thank you. I kind of threw a curveball at everyone today. I'm like, we're gonna do this. Like, and they all knocked it out of the park. My wife wishes that she was here. She's 32 and a half weeks pregnant, and the doctor said, yeah, you're not going. So you'll see her in 90 days with 2 little boys running around. But she sends her love, and I'm sure she's watching. So, but really, my part, I'm incredibly excited today. And hopefully you'll see the first part of why, and we'll kind of go through the rest of this, is that what Sue talked about, or what Wade talked about, what Adrian talked about was being exposed to information and having the opportunity to make a difference. See, the reality is, can any of you change something that you don't understand? Right? That sounds like a silly question, right? But the reality is we can only modify things if we know that there's a problem. The problem is failure doesn't fall at the end of the first day, right? When you wake up in the morning and eat muffins for breakfast, you don't gain 200 pounds. If you did, would you eat muffins the next day? Like if you ate muffins this morning and then woke up tomorrow, you're 200 pounds more, would you eat breakfast, eat muffins the following day? No, you're like, I might rule number 1, get rid of muffins. Yeah. Well, y'all seem serious. Wait, you had them going. That last thing, I took all the air out. It's okay. It's okay. So, but really, what we're going to talk about today is this one generation plan. So we got to reset this for a second. Okay? We're going to have, what you just talked about is the wealthy have access to all these resources and tools. And everyone goes, why? Because that's where the money is. I don't care if you're helping people with financial services or if you're helping people organize events, right? Event planners. You guys ever heard of an event planner? Yes. Do they work for Ropo? No. You know who creates and who organizes a financially challenged person's birthday party? Them. Right or wrong? Right? They organize it, they drive, they do absolutely everything at the very last minute. They're so stressed out, like it takes them halfway through the party to even enjoy it. How many of you have ever done, put on, or been that person in that party? Right? Now, the rest of you are like, no, I've never been invited. No. So, but that's what they do, right? There's nothing wrong with it. But all of a sudden, someone sat around and said, oh my God, what if I could do all the stressful stuff that the people don't want to do, and I charge them $3 grand to put a party on, but I go to people who have the extra $3 grand. Y'all with me? Yeah. How many of you wouldn't mind me paying $3 grand to put together a party that you're putting together for your kids or your family anyway? Right? It's the same process. There's nothing wrong with that, but all of a sudden someone said, oh my God, someone's paying it. And someone else is paying it. Poof, there's a business. Servicing the group of people who have discretionary cash. See, the reality is it makes a lot of financial sense to work with the wealthy people because they're the ones with a significant amount of money. The challenge in the financial services industry, right, and what Sue was talking about is that if you get, your compensation is based on, let's say, the amount of money under management, right? So you can meet a guy or a gal that has $500,000 or a guy or a gal that has $50,000 and you get paid based on how much money is under management. And let's say it takes 3 hours to develop both of those relationships. Which relationship would you rather develop? The 500 grand. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means you can do math. Here's the dilemma with that. The people who can do math go, oh, all of us should fight over that group. And so the only people left are the people not good enough to survive in this group. Y'all with me? So now for 70 million families, the people who can't figure out how to be effective enough to work with the top 1% have to deal with this. But they try to do the exact same things because they've gone to the same trainings and done the same meetings. See, Primerica sat back and said, wait a second here. Why does it have to be that way? Because we were founded by 84 football coaches and teachers. I was 22 years old at $24,000 when I walked in the door, and I had no interest in financial services, no interest in sales, no interest in working with the wealthy or the broke, like that. But there was something inside me that said, I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to have more month than money. And I came in, and I didn't understand, and all of a sudden they talked about financial game plans and planning, and I'm like, that all sounds great. I don't have any cash. And we talked about this 2 to 3 generation plan. What does that mean? The way we talked about it is, all of you are a grandchild of someone. Fair? Again, math. This isn't. If your grandparents would have listened to this and then taught it to their children, which was your parents, and then they taught it to you, how many think you'd be in a different financial situation right now today if over the last 40 years your family had locked in advances, created the right habits, and leveraged experts? How many think you'd be in a different financial situation than you are right now? This isn't a trick question. This is just, right? So you go, step 1 is, most of our parents didn't do that. Fair? But how many of you think there's a really good chance you might have kids and grandkids? Which means at some point, they're going to be in a room saying, if my grandparents would have done this, I would have. So they can either be in a room going, I'm so glad they did, or I wish they would. Y'all with me? Right, I was listening to something Bill Gates like, my kids aren't going to get billions of dollars. I'm going to give it away. Yeah, they're going to get 35 million each. He's like, my kids aren't going to have billions when I die. They're going to get 35 million. Maybe they can get by. Y'all with me? Because they said, no, we're going to make sure our kids never start over. They still have to stand on their own. They still have to do great things, but we're going to give them the opportunities to do that. See the difference? So we look at that. The problem is, 50 years from now, although doesn't seem that far out, right? When I was 20, I got the business at 22, 30 was old. How old are you? 19. 30's ancient, right? You're like, they're that guy's 30, right? I remember. You're like, you got the little walker, right? I'm 41 now. I'm like, 60's not that bad. Right? I'm going to have a 17-year-old, right? What's wrong with that, right? 2, actually. So you sit there, but I'm like, 50 years from now, to be free? Like, I love the idea of my grandkids. But I went, why can't we live that? And that's I don't think that's a foreign thought. I think a lot of people I've talked to have thought about it, we've dreamt about it, we've done all that stuff. The problem is, if we don't have access to the resources and tools, there's not much we can do. So we sat there and said, if we're really, as an organization, as a group of people, if we're going to get passionate about closing this access gap, of providing the education and the tools to Main Street families, we have to have a way to close that gap in one generation. Why are you all here today? We say, look, and you're going to talk about this, we want a support system. We say, look, we want everyone in our life to understand the mission that we're on. Right? We want everyone to go, man, what you're doing is real. This is a real problem. Do you think that if 70 million families are stuck in this cycle and keep repeating it, that might be considered a problem?
Yes.
If there was a way to close that gap, would that be a legitimate solution? Right? Those are the things that we can get passionate about. But then we said, what's the one generation plan? What's the one thing that we can do? And it comes down to ownership. Not Primerica ownership, ownership. And the reason is based on how we get paid. Business owners create 3 streams of income. There's passive income, there's revenue, and there's profit. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But most of us don't realize that the reason ownership is so key is we can leverage our time and our resources. The reality is, look, any financial game plan, if you sit down with the person, let's say you don't have a financial game plan, you should have one. You should get together with the person who brought you and say, well, I need one of those financial game plans. How do I do it? But here's the truth. We cannot teach you how to get wealthy in one generation by just following that plan. You and I don't make enough money. I told that someone, they go, I make $350,000. I'm like, I know, and you're 40. Which means at 65, if you want to retire, you need $4.5 million saved. You can barely save enough money to get the $4.5 million on the $300,000. If you want to get wealthy, you need $12 million. You can't make enough money to save $12 million in the next 22 years. Y'all with me? It's not a bad thing. We don't have the resources. So he said, if we're going to really do it, then we need a way that can passively income. Right? You heard Sue talk about the fact that her dad owned a business. You know what he's able to do is he was able to increase his cash flow because there's a need to be able to do it. We can't do that at our jobs all the time. Most of us can't go to our boss and say, hey, I have an extra $500 a month bill because my kid's going to college. Can you pay me a little bit more? Can most of us have that conversation? No, but in a business, we have the luxury and the leverage to do that. So he said, okay, if we're going to own, what tools do we need? What tools? One of them is we need to be able to harness that Main Street entrepreneurial spirit. Brett, what is that? That ticking clock inside some of us that says, I don't want to feel like this anymore. Not everyone has it. And not everyone needs it. This isn't about convincing people to need something that they don't need. This is about realizing that it's okay to give language to some of us that walk in and say, I don't want to feel like this anymore. There's got to be something more. What if I had the right training and the right tools? Man, what could happen? If we could get that spirit, we could legitimately do something real for our lives. We could have a leverageable support system. What does that mean? I don't have an MBA in administration and business in business. Most of us don't. I'm not an expert in allocations and resources and timing and customer service and all this other stuff and the 50 million things it takes to legitimately run a successful business. But all those things need to be done, don't they?
Yep.
So this is a problem. If all those things need to be done and I'm not an expert at them, one of two things means. Either if I go into business, I'm not going to do them, so I'm not going to be successful, or I'm going to take my time and do them, and then I'm not going to be out creating the business in the front. You'll realize there's no third answer. So he said, if we're going to really create ownership for this generation, for this one, we need a leverageable plan so we don't have to be that expert. And then we need a transitional path. I was making $1,000 a month. Wasn't life-changing, but it kept food on the table. I was waiting tables, it wasn't everything, but it made sure that I could pay my car note, I could keep my cell phone, and I could rent the room I was renting. That was big. Take that away from me, I can't do anything. So it wasn't, hey, quit your job and come do something you've never done before. We said, man, we need the greatest part-time opportunity in the world. We need people to let their jobs be their ground cover. Whether it's 50 grand or 80 grand or 100 or 300 or I don't care what it is, it gives us the opportunity to transition out as we build our assets. We said, man, if we could find something that leveraged these three principles in an ownership opportunity, something special could happen. Well, the reality is I like Wade, right? Wade, we did something, Wade's like, this is great. So everyone, I told Wade he's great. He goes, I know, I wrote it. But really what we are is we're a business incubator designed for the purpose to create and sustain high-level entrepreneurs. The reason you're here today, the mission the people that are involved in the business are on is this picture. And it's vital that the people in our lives understand that. Because 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, 3 years from now, you might meet an entrepreneur. You might meet somebody that wants to do something different with their life. And you might go, God, I know the person you should talk to. I don't know if what they're doing is what you should be doing, but you should have them in your life. I got a question. Can any of us have enough great, committed, focused people in our lives? Can we have enough people passionate about their life in our lives? Is there a number that's too many? But how many of us have a bunch of people in our lives that gritch and moan and complain a lot? You can have too many of those. But we have a tendency to attract them. Doesn't every once in a while, like, don't you walk in and all of a sudden go, how did I get so many of these people? Right? You're like, no, hey, you cut one loose and 3 show up. You're like, no! How great would it be if every quarter an entrepreneur showed up, someone who was passionate about their goals and their dreams showed up. Somebody said, man, I want to do something great in my life. How amazing would that be if you surrounded yourself with that group of people? Do you think 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, we could be in a different situation if that's what we were attracting? It's not bad. You said, well, what does that mean? Really, our number one thing is we said, okay, if we're going to do this, there are some things that we need. One, low capital entry. What does that mean? It can't cost a lot of money. Why? Because we don't have a lot of money. It's not overly complicated. We said, look, if we're going to attract the best of the best, but we're going to build with the people here. Our mission is to close this access gap. If it's to provide access to this group of people, we need a path where they can join. And here's what I know. $1,000 is a lot of money to someone and not that much to a lot of people. Right? It just depends upon where things go. We sat down and said, look, right, it costs $100 to do the FBI background check, like that we can cover. Right? It gives us the opportunity. We had to have a partnership platform. You look at our logo, it's one of the best, to me, it's one of the best designed logos we could ever have because it's built on these circles. This circle is the Primerica Financial Services. There's 2,000 people in Atlanta, Georgia, the Wade was talking about, who wake up every day saying, let's build the right products and services for this group of people. Let's service them, let's cultivate them, let's develop them. Are any of us passionate about beta coefficients and standard deviations? No, but all that stuff's important. We just don't need to know it all. Y'all with me? Right? We got a back office support company that says, man, we got to get our licenses, our client retention, we got to follow up, we got to do paperwork, we got to do process. Right? Isn't paperwork and processing kind of a pain in the ass?
Yes.
But it needs to get done, right or wrong.
Right.
Right? How great if we had a back office support company that was an expert. That's all they did. And we could leverage that expertise so the work could get done, but our attention could be out the front. So that we could build our support system. So we could leverage the opportunity in a platform that says, man, great people taking a message to the right people. We said with that support system, unbelievable things can happen. And then we need a legitimate opportunity for return on investment. Right? What does that mean? There's not a big red, cross downstairs. Right? If we're going to take time away from our family, it has to be fiscally, financially worth it. Right? So we said, man, if we were going to do this, so if we recognized ownership was a legitimate thing, and we could harness the spirit, and we could have a legitimate path, and we could have a support system, what would we need? We'd need these types of opportunities. We said, man, if we could literally do this. I got a question. If there was a way to help close the economic gap for 70 million families, and there was a way to develop and grow a business, should you be successful and profitable in that? Right? Like, so I always sat down in business, they always talk and said there's three major questions, right? What's the market? What's the competition? What's the need? Right? If you have this great idea, but there's no one who's going to take advantage of it, are you going to be profitable? No. If you have this great idea and the big guys, the Walmarts and Googles and Apples are all doing it way better and been doing it for 20 years longer, is there going to be a problem getting into that space?
Yeah. Yes.
And if when the moment the wind blows, it's gone and no one needs it, is there going to be a sustainability? No. So we said those are three final questions. Between $25,000 a year in income and $300,000 a year of income is 70 million families in this country. That's our market. Does that sound like a good market?
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's like everything. Do you trust the banks to help you get wealthy? Do we trust the lenders to get us out of debt?
Nope.
The insurance companies protect us. So the industry that group is taught to turn to, complete strangers. We've never met before, have we? And I just ask you, trust the banks, the insurance companies, lenders? Like, no. We've never met a complete stranger, completely agrees with no, they're screwing us. That's the definition of no competition. No one's there. Y'all with me?
Yeah.
So market everyone. Competition, no. How about the need? If you live, do you need to eat?
Yes.
If you die, does your family need to eat?
Yes.
And if you're trying to eat, you have to figure out how to budget. Because lunch used to be $5 and it's now $10. It's going to be $20. So the need is vital. So if you could build a business where the market was everything, the competition was none, the need was vital. Oh, and you had a 2.9, I have to put a 0.9 in there now with the market capitalization, but a $2.9 billion venture capitalist, basically. A $2.9 million partner that says, our checks never bounce. You can build it as big as you want, and we will pay you forever. Markets everywhere. Competition's none. Need is vital, and opportunity is unlimited. Do you think possibly we can make a difference in some of our lives? So we said, okay, how does it work? We said, look, our number one job is there's a place for everyone. We go, look, there's a place for everyone and there's a role for all of us. The first thing we do, and some of you, that role is an ally. We said, man, we want everyone in our life to understand and support what we're doing. There's no way we are going to help close this gap for 70 million families on our own. And there's no way we're going to do it if the people in our lives aren't in our corner. There's just no way. So we said, man, can you believe? And I always go down and go, is anyone else talking like this? No, is anyone else showing up, right? No one showed up to my family and said, hey, here's how your family can get financially free. Here's how we can create some security in your life. You go, man, if no one showed up in my life, and no one showed up in your life, and no one showed up in your life, and we grew up in different areas, there's a good chance no one's showing up. So he said, man, if there was a way to show up, we could create some support. Some are advocates. We already talked about this a little bit. Over the next 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, we're all going to start talking with someone who needs help. Someone who wants a life. Someone who wants to do something different, right? Someone who's stuck in where they're at and they got no shot out. What if we had 10, 20, 50, 100 people in our life that were looking for people out there that wanted to do something different? What if you could surround yourself with people that wanted to create something special? Our advocates are the single most important people we can have in our professional life are the people who become our cheerleaders. The people who say, you got to meet this guy, you got to meet this lady. They're doing something special. And then there's a space for our associates. There's some people that say, man, this is a great idea. People need it. Man, I know a bunch of people who need to do this. Hey, I got a question for you. I'm not totally financially independent. This sounds kind of fun. What if I helped? What kind of an impact would that have on my life? I never dreamt about financial services. I've always wanted to own a business, but I didn't know how to do it. So we said, look, the first position we have is called our gaps. And this is one of my favorite conversations, right? Because I am a fighter. I love like problems and solving. But this is one of those things just to think about. Right now, there are 10,000 people turning 65 years old every day for the next 19 years. That sounds like a lot of people, doesn't it? This is the first generation to ever have a 401k. Ever. That means your parents have access to a 401k. Their parents had a pension. Well, bro, what's the difference? A pension says we're going to pay you, work for us for 40 years, we're going to pay you $1,900 a month for as long as you live. Your job when you retire is to manage that $1,900. Now, you've been managing that $1,900 for your entire 40 years because every week you got a paycheck. And the paycheck and the pension are about the same. If you take Social Security and your pension, it's supposed to be about the same as what your paycheck was. And you've been managing your paycheck for 40 years, so managing another paycheck's not that hard. Y'all with me? The problem here is our parents and the folks getting ready to retire have had a piece of paper they've been looking at for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And it has some numbers on it. It doesn't mean anything to them, does it? Because they're not spending it. They like when it grows. They're depressed when it doesn't. Think about if you have a 401k or savings, not about how you feel. You're like, oh, things are good. Are you spending it? No, but it feels good because it's gone up. When things are bad, oh, no. Are you spending it? No, it doesn't really matter, but it feels bad when it goes up. And that's about as connected as we got to that piece of paper. And we do that at 40, and we do that at 50, and at 60, and then all of a sudden at 65, people have been making 50 grand and 80 grand or 30 grand and 60 grand and 200 grand or whatever it is. But I got a question. The people making 40 to 150,000, have the financial wealth advisors been talking to them their entire life? No. Do they know how to talk to wealth advisors? No. So now they're ready to retire, and they have this piece of paper that says you have $431,000. Before, your parents had to manage the $1,900. Now they have to figure out how to manage $431,000. Do they have any skill in this? Do they have any relationships? Any idea how to do this? So now what they're going to do is they're going to go into the most sophisticated industry in the world at moving money from someone's pocket to their own. At the time they're the most vulnerable and the most naive. What could possibly go wrong? You want to know why I'm a crusader? Because I think we can literally save hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands of families from being devastated at 72. Right? Because if we have our gathering asset partners, just folks that have no interest in building business, but they get licensed, then all of a sudden their cousin gets ready to retire and they're like, hey, we know the guy you need to talk to. And we give them access to managed accounts. So it's a team of people that does it, right? And it's the right program and the right thing, and we walk through that process. We're going to make sure that money never goes away. But we can also make sure that our gaps are taken care of. $1 million of passive, $1 million of management, assets under management is $4,300 a year for our part-timer. But check this out. The average person starts working at 22. They work till they're 47 or 90 or 67. That's 65 years of work. The average Social Security check is $1,269. So after 45 years of work, David, the average check is $1,200. Someone could start working with us at 60. And if they found $1 million a year between 60 and 65 and they retired in their managed accounts, they'd be making more money than they did at Social Security. I mean, it could be kind of fun if at the beginning of the month, you got a check for $1,800 just by making sure the people in our lives didn't get taken advantage of. We're going to have some part-timers. There's some people in this room that love their job, that love what they do. They love their schedules, but they're just not making quite enough money. An extra $300, $500, $800 a month could revolutionize, could take their kids to parties. They could go do some things. They could go to the movies. They could pay down some debt. They could save for college. They said, Brett, I don't want to quit my job, but doggone it, I want to make sure things are okay. We go, look, help 2 or 3 families a month. There's 30 days in a month. Can we agree if we took a Monday once a month and said, man, let me take some information I learned to the people we cared about, that we might make a difference in those people's lives and start to make a difference in ours?
Yeah.
I go, man, that fired me up. My first month, go make a couple $1,000. I go, man, it was everything. I wasn't going to get rich on the $2 grand, but man, how fun it was to say, man, I still got my job. And this was money I didn't have, and I could start to have some freedom, and this was good. There's going to be some that part-time want to go full-time. They say, man, we're going to build why. We're going to leverage our ground cover. I got a job, right? FedEx is taking care of me. I'm paying my bills. But man, if I could build this, if I could develop over the next 3 months, 6 months, year, these skills and these assets, I could do something and transition out and not be stressed. Never walk into a, not have to be in sales, not have to be in marketing, not have to build a business. And then there's some we call team owners. And we talked about the 3 avenues of profit from an owner. There's the passive income, the revenue, and the profit. And I always talk about this. My favorite, I had it today, Panda Express. I am a Panda Express guy. I go all the time. Do you know how much work this Panda Express here has to do to keep me coming 2 to 3 times a week? Not to kill me. Food poisoning twice, I'm not going back. But as long as they don't kill me, they have to put in no effort to have me show up. I am the definition of passive income. Y'all with me? Now, at the same time, that same Panda Express, they run promotions. They go to the schools and say, hey, we're going to do fundraisers and have everyone coming in on Monday. 10% of what we do is going to go to the schools, which means they get a whole bunch of people that would not go to Panda Express on a Monday night, buy $2,000 worth of stuff, pay $200 to the school, clear $1,800 of work that was created in revenue. Y'all with me? And then they keep opening Panda Expresses. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I said, man, I'm hungry. I went to Panda Express. Y'all with me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you go, that makes sense, but what are you really talking about? All of us have experienced revenue before at our job. We get paid for the work that we do. Fair? Yeah. How many of us have ever, do we get paid on the work we did last week, last month, last year? That's all. How many of us have ever been responsible for training someone at our job?
Yeah.
When they go do what they need to do and they're still in there, is the company more profitable? Do they pay us for the work that that person's doing? No. So we've experienced all of these things, but we take advantage of this. I looked at that and I said, okay, wait, so where is the primary opportunity? We said, look, for the associate part, man, whether it's a gap or a part-timer or part-timer or full-time, or our team owners, said, man, there's a role for all of us as we do this, but we should understand the primary opportunity. And they said, look, passive income, $15 million of assets under management to a regional vice president is $8,300 a month in passive income. If you have 30 associates find $1 million each, they're all making $4,300 a year, right? Veronica, that's an extra $8,300 a month in passive income. If you had an organization that helped 30 families a month, let's look at this, right? There's like 7 people, 8 people that are normally here that tonight, like 4 people went to the dentist today. It's the craziest thing, right? Right? They're all going through, right? But we got about 30 people, 35 people showing up. You think we might be able to have one family every 30 days, each of us? It's like, we're not talking about overly life-changing goals here, right or wrong? Right? When you do that, that'll pay the office $12,000 to $16,000 a month. But we need distribution. And I can't do this alone. We can put 200 people in this room, 400 people in this room. But at some point, we can't grow anymore here. If we really want to close the gap, we can't just close the gap in Santa Clarita. There's like 60,000 Santa Claritas all over the country, right? We should probably make 80, 100, I don't know how many communities like this there are, but there's a lot. And all of them feel the way we feel. We want to take care of our kids. We want to invest. We want to take care. We want to protect our families. We want to make more money. We want to do something different. We don't want to feel like this anymore, but we're stuck. So we said, man, why don't we align our goals? And so they said, look, for every vice president we produce that helps 15, that's half of that goal. It's a $6,200 a month or $72,000 a year profit. I'm not the sharpest in math, but I figured 1 is that, 2 is 144, 3 is 210, 4 is 280, and 5 is 350,000. So I looked at this and said, okay, well, if we had 200 in passive income, 200 in revenue, and 350 in profit, that's $750,000 a year that we could create in the next 5 years by helping close the access gap in this country, by building a support system of allies, by creating an advocate group of people that are emotionally invested in what we're doing and attracting some folks that wanted to make a little bit of impact in their life, a little bit more, some that literally wanted to change it all. But I got a question. We said the only way to create one generation of wealth is ownership. If in the next 5 to 6 years we built this for you, would this, you think, help you get there in one generation? No. Because we sat back and said, we want to make sure that we come from strength in all the things that we do, that we surround ourselves with amazing people and our opportunity to do something. There's a role for all of us, whether it's as an ally, as an advocate, or as an associate. We can't do this alone. Who would want to? I love being in business with people. I love spending the time. I love the conversations I'm having with Adrian and Sue, the conversations with, I love the conversations we're having with David and Nadir and the growth and what's going on. I love the growth. I love watching people develop. I love the challenge and the, what do I got? Here's the opportunity. How do we do it? I love that. I feel to have these conversations. Man, there's a shot. And the ability to create what it is important to you. This isn't about making you or me anything, except realizing that there's a really big problem. There's a legitimate solution. And the opportunity is there. If we do something together, we can make a dent in this thing. Next 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years across this country, I think we can change the game. Because I know a whole bunch of people that are going to go to bed tonight praying for the right person to show up and give them a shot. They're just waiting for us to give them the message. And that's why you're here. It's for you to figure out, man, this makes a lot of sense. And maybe I know someone who should hear this. Maybe I want to come play with it. Wherever it is, it's perfect. There's a place for all of us and a role for all of us. So we talked about the movement continues. We're going to be back here on the 28th. We have a training here on Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. If anything inside said, man, there's something I want to learn, I want to get licensed, I want to go through, come be a part of this thing. I'm telling you, I'm so excited about where we are. So excited about the opportunity and the growth of everyone's here. Right? The opportunities in front of us, guys. We can do something very, very special because no one else is coming. But the reality is, no one has to. We're up to the job. We just got to go. I want to thank you for coming. If there's any questions, we'll be around. All leaders will. There's water. There's like 3. We'll get more. Hang out and have some fun. Thank you guys for coming. Have a great night. Nope. There we go.
Excited? Yeah. Get excited. I have some coffee before I get over. How's